Hi guys, it's Archmano. How's everyone doing? Good, good, good. I hope I'm finally getting better. Yay for me! So today I wanted to do a video, well actually I wanted to do this video for a really long time. I wanted to do a video about 10 expensive fragrances and their cheaper alternatives. So, yeah, I really wanted to do this because I get a lot of comments when I review fragrances saying, do you know anything that's a bit similar because this one's out of my budget and stuff like that? And who doesn't want to save a pound or two here and there? I do. I don't know about you. So just a disclaimer, the alternatives that I offer are not, I'm not going to be offering or mentioning companies that make dupes on purpose. You know, companies like the Perfume Parlor where they make carbon copies of, or try to make carbon copies of fragrances. The alternatives are already established companies that have fragrances that I feel are in a very similar vein. I'm not saying they are exactly the same because that would be virtually impossible, but the suggestions I'm going to give will give you the same feeling, or they share a lot of the same notes, and tried and tested, I have tried all of them. So in my experience and my opinion, these are cheaper alternatives to expensive and some not so expensive fragrances. So let's begin the list. The first one on my list is Coromandel by Chanel. This is a, from what I read, very sought after fragrance. I think it's one of the best sellers, or if not the best seller in the Chanel Exclusives line, for good reason. It's absolutely amazing. Just give me 1 second. Let me tell you, I got the 200ml bottle of this and I had to save up and save up and save up and save up to get this, and even when I bought it, the moment of purchase, handing over that money was still very, very difficult as much as I wanted it. So I wanted to put this on the list because a lot of people love this fragrance and it's amazing. But recently, I randomly came across a company called Shanghai Tang. They're a niche perfume company and they have a fragrance called Oriental Pearl. It's a lot cheaper than Coromandel. Now, like I said, I'm not going to give you exact copies of it, of the suggestions that I'm going to give you. However, when I wore Oriental Pearl by Shanghai Tang, it reminded me of Coromandel. Given it's not as white chocolatey, it doesn't have that super Chanel magic that this one has, but the patchouli in it is very, very similar and it reminded me of Coromandel. It's a bit rougher, it's a bit heavier on the patchouli, but I think it's a good, cheaper alternative to Coromandel, the beautiful Coromandel. Give me 1 second. The next one on the list is kind of a double whammy. It's Midnight Poison by Christian Dior. Not only is this an expensive fragrance, it's actually very hard to find now. And a lot of people say, is there anything that smells like it? In reality, not really, but there is something that's close, and it is Elle by Yves Saint Laurent in the purple tall bottle. They're both a rose patchouli combination, and they're both very beautiful fragrances. Of course, Elle is not going to have the mass appeal and the edge that Midnight Poison has, but they remind me of each other for sure. I think Elle is a little bit more feminized, it's a little bit more rosy, and Midnight Poison is more on the patchouli and it's a little bit more dusky. However, they do feel like they're from the same planet at least, and even if you don't think that they're the same, Elle is a beautiful, beautiful fragrance, and I think it's one of the best from Yves Saint Laurent, apart from Yves, but we'll talk about that in another video. The next one is another Dior, it's Pure Poison, another really beautiful, fluffy, tissue-like white floral, which I have reviewed. I went to my friend's house many years ago. I went round for coffee and... coffee? I'm lying. I went round there for wine. And I was spraying some of her perfume collection. She had one by Victoria Beckham called Intimately Beckham. I believe it was a pink square bottle. And when I sprayed it, something happened and I thought, this smells like something. This smells like something else that I really know and love. It's Pure Poison. And it's way, way, way cheaper. I think it's probably about £15, that perfume. It's got the same fluffiness. I describe it as like scented tissues. It's a lovely, pretty white floral fragrance, and Intimately Beckham is a great and much, much cheaper alternative to Pure Poison if you can't get this one or it's out of your price range, so try it out. The next one is Narciso Rodriguez For Her, the pink bottle or the black bottle, the eau de toilette version, because they're very similar. They just have a few tweaked notes here and there. There is a fragrance that smells like them, and it is Lovely by Sarah Jessica Parker. Like I said, it's not going to be exactly the same. Sarah Jessica Parker is a little bit more transparent, it's a bit rougher, it's heavier on a more herbal edge, it's a bit more lavendery. However, it definitely feels like it's from the same planet as Narciso Rodriguez for Her, which is a beautiful fragrance. Both are beautiful. Sarah Jessica Parker though, so cheap, and I love it. I got it for my mum. I also gave her my pink bottle of Narciso. They're both really nice. The main difference is Narciso plays with musks a whole bunch, and Lovely by Sarah Jessica Parker doesn't have the musky element, but the floral part of it feels very similar. So check it out if you want to try that one. The next one is a great one. I'm really happy to be telling you about it because I only discovered it this year, actually sorry, last year. Within a year I discovered it. There is a fragrance called Portrait of a Lady by Frederic Malle. It gets talked about a lot on perfume forums. It's amazing. I love this fragrance. It's a dark, gothic, rosy fragrance with a lot of incense and a lot of patchouli again. And when I started my job last year, I discovered there is a cheaper alternative. It is this one. It is Parfumerie Générale 26. It's called Esparta. They're like twins. This is a very close match. Portrait of a Lady is much richer, it's much stronger, it's more dense. And this one isn't necessarily considered a cheapie by any means. It's not a cheap alternative, but it's definitely cheaper than this one. Definitely cheaper. They both share rose, they both share incense, they both share patchouli. It's a very good alternative for Portrait of a Lady. I love them both. They're both good. I wear this one more often than this one. This is more of my special occasion one, but if you want to get this one and it's out of your price range, this one is a bit less. This one's around the £200 something mark, and this one's about 130, depending on the size you get. But yeah, good one. I could have smashed them right then and there. The next one could get me in massive trouble, but I'm going to say it anyway. Aventis by Creed. One of the most talked about, discussed fragrances among the fragrance community, especially among men. There is a whole bunch of fanboying that goes on about this fragrance and has been going on for years and years and years. People are obsessed with batch codes, which one's smokier, which one's more pineapple-y. I smell it on so many people all the time. When at my job, I say, what do you wear? They say Aventis. It's just everywhere. Stop with the crazy Aventis-ness already, people. Anyway, I have discovered an alternative that is much cheaper. It is called The Orchid Man, and it is by Frappan, a really well-established fragrance house that has been going since 1270. They're actually cognac makers. They have a fragrance called The Orchid Man, which is named after a famous boxer. It doesn't have the pineapple, it doesn't have the smoky birch tar note, but the essence of it, the main core, feels a lot like Aventis. Having said that, it doesn't have nearly as much projection and longevity as Aventis, because Aventis is known for being beast mode, as people say. However, people that say they like Aventis, I show them Orchid Man at my job, and they love it. So it's a very good alternative, and it's about £125 for 100 ml, and Aventis is 250. Craziness price, I don't know. The next one is Chanel Coco Mademoiselle. One of the most popular fragrances ever. I smell it all the time on the London Underground, around London. A lot of girls and guys wear this fragrance. And I discovered when I went to the south of France a couple of years ago, and the second time, there is a really beautiful French company called Fracker. They're one of the main perfume houses in the south of France. They have quite a few fragrances that smell like other things, but they have one called Diamant. Diamond? Probably saying it wrong. Diamond in French. It smells like Mademoiselle a whole bunch, and it's much cheaper. I think it's €40 for a 200ml bottle, or they sell 100ml for 28. It's kind of like a dead ringer. It's almost like a dupe, I would say, but way more affordable. So definitely check that one out. Fracker, lovely French house. They've got loads of fragrances, but a lot of theirs do resemble other things. but they're not a dupe company, if you like. So Diamond, Coco Mademoiselle. Check it out. The next one I think is quite a well-known one. It's one that, again, gets quite talked about in the fragrance community. Tom Ford's Tobacco Vanille. Everyone talks about this fragrance, everyone loves it. It's a real super tobacco vanilla, super projecting, super long lasting. There is an alternative though. There is a company called Phaidon or Phaidon. I'm not Greek, I don't know how to pronounce it. Somebody please correct me. They have a fragrance called Tobac Rouge, but instead of using vanilla, this fragrance uses honey, so it's less cloying, less suffocating, because tobacco vanilla is quite a potent fragrance, and it also has a kind of dry, gingery opening. So the opening's quite different, but where it goes, once the tobacco starts to reveal, then you get this massive similarity between the very expensive Tobacco Vanille Private Blend by Tom Ford. This one is, I think, 112 for 100 ml, so it's pretty much half the price, probably even less than half price. So it's a great alternative, and it's a kind of a well-known alternative, so check it out if you can come across it. The second to last one on the list isn't necessarily an expensive fragrance, but I found a way to get what I consider to be a better version and for cheaper and a bigger amount. It's Aventis by Cacharel. Classic floral fragrance. Lots of people like this. Lots of people don't, I'm guessing too, because of the way it smells. It's not for everyone's taste. However, Fragonard, again, they have a signature fragrance called Fragonard, which I bought last time I went to Nice, and I think it smells better than Aventis. It's richer, it's probably more long lasting, it's not as dry, but it smells pretty much identical. Again, 200 mils was £39, and they sell 100 mils for 28, like I said. If you're a fan of Aventis, you're probably going to be a long life fan of Aventis, I'm guessing. However, if you want a big chunk of something that smells pretty much the same, get Fragonard's signature fragrance. It's just called Fragonard. And last on the list is another one that might get me a little bit in trouble, but I'm going to say it anyway. It's Fracker by Robert Piguet, the classic tuberose fragrance that everyone talks about. You know, I say everyone talks about, it's because I read a lot of forums, so I see things pop up continuously. Fracker, it's a legendary fragrance. It came out a long time ago. It's a really bold white floral fragrance. And then along comes Madonna with her fragrance, Truth or Dare. While it's not the same, while it doesn't feel as vintagey as Fracker or as dry or as bold, there's definitely a massive similarity. And let me tell you, Truth or Dare by Madonna, which I think is discontinued, but I've seen it online. I've seen it for sale online for cheap. It is one of the most long-lasting and projecting celebrity fragrances I've ever smelled, if not the most. This stuff was 20 quid when I bought it, £20, and you can smell it everywhere. It's a really great alternative to the more expensive Fracker. It's sweeter, but it does feel like it's from the same world. They are like sisters, I guess. So yeah, that is my list. I hope you guys like this video. I hope it's given you some food for thought, maybe some ideas if you were coveting one of the more expensive ones. Now you might have an idea. You might not agree with me about the way they smell, but I've worn all of these fragrances enough to safely say they're definitely cheaper counterparts. So if you do try them, let me know. I'd love to know your thoughts if you discover something new. That's it. I'm Arch on my own. Get my logo down there to subscribe, or hit the subscribe button if you want to see more videos. Goodbye.